All right, let's return to our Google Poly class that we were working on earlier and make a few adjustments to it that can make the searching process a little bit more convenient for us. I'll switch over here. This was the function get3model that we were working on to get the 3D model, which will collapse now because we won't be working with that. And as a quick summary, we have two functions in our class, one called getQueryURL, which just gives us the URL that we can use to call the API, and getSearchResults, which takes keywords and a next page token and returns us the results of the API in the form of a promise. When users click search, they're going to be given the first page of data, which for us will be 10 results because we've hard-coded our page size to be 10. I also want a button down at the bottom called Load More, which when they press will load the next 10 results using our next page token. And what I'm going to do for my application is just concatenate all of the results into one big array and show them all as many times as they click Load More. That may not be ideal for your application. You may only want to show 10 results at a time or 20 or however many and implement some sort of pagination scheme. So feel free to make modifications as you need for your application. Since I'm going to have all the results in one big array, it makes sense to keep track of that array in our class. So I'm going to add a new property called this.currentResults, which I'm going to initialize to a blank array. I'm also going to track the next page token as a member variable, and I'm also going to track the keywords as a member variable. So instead of getSearchResults taking in keywords in a next page token, we're actually going to pull it from the member variables here. So we'll say this.keywords and this.nextPage token. And down here when we receive the results, instead of returning them as a promise, we're going to append them to our current results array. So the way that we can do that is setting this.currentResults equal to this.currentResults.concat data.assets. And that will concatenate the results of the API to our current array. Let's also set our next page token to the next page token that we're given, which is data.nextPageToken. And we can actually keep our promise here to return the results of this specific call if we want. And so users will be able to get the next 10 results from this promise, or they can get all the results by just calling their instance of Google Poly.currentResults. Now we need a way to set the keywords so that when getSearchResults is called, it actually has some keywords. So let's make a new function right here called setSearchParams, and it will take one input of keywords. And what this function will, when it will be called, is whenever the user clicks search. So if the user types in Turkey and clicks search, what we want it to do is clear out all of the existing results, all of the existing next page token stuff, and start over with a brand new search of Turkey. So what we're going to do is set this.currentResults equal to a blank array. So any results that are already in there are wiped out. This.nextPageToken is going to be set to blank, and this.keywords is set to the input keywords. So how the UI is going to work is the user will type in their search result here, their search query here. They'll click search, which we'll call setSearchParams and reset all of our member variables. Then it will call getSearchResults, which is going to search based on the keywords that are given and the next page token, which for the first page will be blank. That's going to call the API, grab our results, and append them to our current results array, which is currently blank. It's going to set our next page token, and it'll return a promise with the assets for just that query. Then if the user was unsatisfied with the first 10 results, they can click the Load More button, which we haven't added yet, and it'll call getSearchResults again, which will run the query, append the next 10 results to our current results array, set the next page token, and return the results 11 through 20. So let's save that and give it a shot. All right, so let's flip over to our home screen and try to implement the new changes to the API in our UI. So we talked about having a load more button, so why don't we go ahead and add that. Let's come down here to where we've got our search button. Let's add another button called load more. And when it's pressed, it will call this .on load more press, which we need to implement. So we'll say on load more press. And we've now got two buttons that we need to implement. So as we said, when search is pressed, we're going to grab the text out of the search box and call set search params. So let's get the text, which is equal to this.state.search query. Instead of calling it text, why don't we call it keywords? And we'll say this.googlepoly, which is our instance of the Google Poly class, .set search params, and we'll give it keywords. So now we have set our search params. We've wiped out any results that may have already been there and set our keywords. Now we want to actually call get search results. So we'll say this.googlepoly.get search results. Takes no inputs now, but it returns a promise. So we'll say .then function with assets, and we can do whatever we want with our assets here. But I think what we're going to do is, instead of using these assets, we're going to use this.googlepoly.currentResults, which is going to have all the results of every query that we run. So let's come up to our constructor and let's add a new state parameter called currentResults, which is initialized to a blank array. And whenever the query returns, we're going to set state.currentResults to the googlepoly.currentResults. And setting the state will trigger a re-render with the new results. So up here we're going to say this.setState current results is going to be equal to this.googlepoly.currentResults. And since we're referencing this inside of a function, we need to bind the this context, so we'll add .bind this right here. Okay, and load more press should do almost the exact same thing, except it won't reset our keywords or our search parameters because we want to keep those the same, but it will call get search results to get the next page worth of data. So let's just copy and paste that down here. You could factor this out into a separate function if you'd like. I don't think it's necessary in this particular case. Let's add a console.log here with our assets, just to make sure that we're actually getting data. And before we test it out, we do need to make one slight change back in our Google Poly class. Again, since we're referencing this inside of a function here, we need to bind the this context by calling .bind with this. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to access this .currentResults or this .nextPage token. So let's save and try out our new search. We'll open up the Expo XDE, and we'll type in Turkey, do a search, and as you can see, there are some results. And if we click load more, I believe we got some more results. So that's just a quick check to make sure that there weren't any huge errors. Let's now actually display the results on the screen. All right, so back in our home screen, to display the results, we're just going to display a Google Poly asset for every asset in our this.state.currentResults. So one way we can do that is by using a loop, or we can also use the map function. So let's make a function right here called render current results. And what this is going to do is we'll use the map function to map all of our current results to a Google Poly asset component. So we'll say return this.state.currentResults.map. Now we'll take a function with an asset and an index, and we will return a Google Poly asset whose asset property is equal to the asset that we're currently mapping. And since we're going to have multiple of these, we need to set a key, otherwise you'll get a yellow box error, and we'll just set the key equal to the index. And instead of displaying our turkey object, we're going to call this .render current results. And why don't we make a small modification here, which is we'll check the length of this .state.current results, and we'll say if this .state.current results .length equals 0, then we're just going to return text that says no results. That way we know that we don't have any results. And if there are results in there, we'll call our map function. So let's save that, and I just realized that we didn't call the function here, so add the parentheses there and call it, save it again. Okay, so we've got no results. Let's search for turkey, click search, and there you have it. We have our results, and I'm unable to scroll, so we need to change this to a scroll view to allow scrolling. Save it again and try it one more time. Click search, and there you go. We have a list of 10 results related to turkeys. If you take a look at the last one, it's this bird with a red head. Let's load more and make sure that we got 10 more. Okay, so that was our previous last one. And here are 10 more turkeys. Actually, it's only 3, so that must have been the end of the results for turkey. Let's try changing the results again to dog and click search. And well, the first 2 results are foxes, and that's one thing I've noticed is this, the keywords query gives you sometimes unexpected results. As you can see, there's a lot of animals on here that aren't actually dogs. I'm not really sure what's going on with that, but the API is working correctly. It's just kind of giving you strange results.